Welcome to the Wednesday night service at Greater Las Vegas CSL. My name is Reverend Lauren Martin, and tonight we're finishing our 4-week series inspired by the book If God is Love, Don't Be a Jerk by John Poplowitz. Tonight's talk is entitled Give Me a Break, because with all that's going on in the world and the holiday stresses, we all definitely need a break. In this series, we've looked at different ways people can act a bit like a jerk, and that when they do, they're most likely looking for love. But my friend, what if we are too? Maybe we are one of the millions of people on this planet right now that has no idea how to love themselves, that has become an expert at being a total jerk to themselves. I understand this at the core of my being because I'm a pure master at this. I was always afraid of becoming too overconfident or too egotistical, so I went all the way to the other end of the spectrum. I used self-deprecating humor and practiced trying to read the minds of the people I barely knew, so I could make sure to point out my flaws before they could. Can you relate? Maybe you know someone or love someone who does this. I knew I did this, yet to watch someone else I admired do this was a true wake-up call. I won a trip to Costa Rica with my job for the top 2% of the employees in the company for sales in the last year. When one of my teammates won too, I was excited because I'd never met her and we got along really well online. When I met her, I saw how beautiful she is and how handsome her husband is. They seem like the perfect couple. He loves her so much. One night at dinner, we were talking about how we couldn't believe we made it to this trip. Somehow, someone, somewhere was about to realize their big mistake and send us home. At that moment, I realized what we were doing, and I saw her. I saw an amazing person who seems to have the life I wanted with the same pain and insecurities as me. It broke my heart. I knew how the words I felt and said to myself felt like 1,000 small cuts to my soul, and I never wished that pain on anyone else. I tried to tell her how amazing she was, but she wasn't in the space to hear this. Sometimes we need to see ourselves reflected back to us to see the truth of what we are doing, and this was an ugly truth for sure. I have been on a path to overcome this habit for about a decade or so, and I thought I was doing better. Yet my best friend on this trip told me I was doing worse than I had in that whole 10 years that she knew me. But this was one of the best years of my life. How was this possible? I was reminded that at times of stress, we can easily fall back into our old habits, no matter how self-destructive they may have been. And even great things can feel like a stressor to people who have had trauma in their lives, which is just about everyone. So while my friend and I should have been celebrating with our other coworkers, we fell back into the habit of being a jerk to ourselves so our heads didn't get too big. Years ago, I almost lost one of my dearest friends because I was insulting myself constantly. I will never forget what he said to me. He said, if you don't stop treating my friends so badly, I will not be able to be friends with you anymore because I cannot accept anyone treating my friend this way. This still hits me hard because I thought me insulting myself only affected myself, and it was acceptable. I also didn't think people saw the pain I was causing myself. I thought since most of my insults were jokes, that they hid my pain. These two experiences made it very clear to me that sometimes we are in fact the biggest jerks to ourselves. Lisa M. Hayes reminds us to be careful how you are talking to yourself because you are listening. How can we forget something so obvious? We can do something about this, though. One of the first steps in stopping the habit of self-deprecation is to listen to our self-talk. It takes practice and patience, but we can start listening to what is being thought in our minds. Maybe we start a journal. We write down all the negatives that we start to see, and the way our mind starts to twist the comments as soon as we start to figure out the current pattern. There are so many more negative thoughts in our heads than come out of our mouths. So it may be surprising to you how nonstop that chatter is. After we get used to spotting the negatives, next we want to practice stopping these phrases as soon as possible. Until we get so good at it, we can predict when one of these thoughts is about to pop up. We can say stop, stop a rubber band on our wrist, or anything that will retrain your brain to pause as soon as the thought starts. Then find or create a mantra or phrase that we truly believe to fill the hole created by that thought. This will take time, and you might want to focus just on one path at a time, but it's worth it. One of the most infuriating and frustrating expressions I have ever heard talks about how we will never find love if we don't love ourselves first. So many of us have no idea how to love ourselves. It feels wrong, egotistical, selfish, or scary, yet there's something to this. In order to be treated how we want to be treated, we have to show people how to treat us. We can't do that if we're being a jerk to ourselves because no one will see how to treat us any differently. We also will be pretty low on love to give to anyone else if we don't have some for ourselves. Other people have often told me I'm very loving, so I doubted this part. I've come to realize that there is nothing left to give me if I give it all away first. By filling myself with love first, then giving it away, it becomes like using a candle to light another candle. The light doesn't leave the first candle, but the second candle burns as bright. We must always remember the wise wisdom of the flight attendants that remind us to always put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. So many times I have seen this expression in memes, and I wanted to scream, how? How do I love myself? How do I stop being a jerk to myself? Somehow we decided along the way that we had to earn love, and that includes our own love for ourselves. This is a lie. We don't have to earn love. We are love. We are valuable and worthy because we exist. Yes, I know I'm repeating myself a lot through this series, but that is how important I believe this is. So when we see these expressions about love online with no instructions, how do we move from self-deprecation to love? I think first we need to stop being a jerk to ourselves. I love little phrases like that. They seem so simple, but they're enormously complicated. We are all painfully aware that simple is not always easy. If it was, we'd all be swimming in self-love and happiness. In one of my spiraling soliloquies of self-deprecation, someone once asked me if I would ever say these words to my closest friends. Well, of course not. I want them to be happy. Oh, duh. It was hard for me to realize that if we can look outward and see the beauty in the diversity and the innate worthiness of the people around us, our friends, our family, perfect strangers, then don't we deserve to see that in ourselves too? Here's another kicker. We recognize in others what exists in us. So if we see beauty and value in our friends, we have it too. Many of us are taught to compete to win, to be the best, which is a real detriment to our self-esteem because we're taught to compare ourselves to others. Then we see the media and society has set these standards for success that are so hard to reach, so we crumble in comparison. From a young age, we see people in movies, on TV, and in magazines that are airbrushed or highly made up into some kind of ideal of what beauty is supposed to be. At the same time, we're taught that beauty is to be valued above all else, except for maybe vast riches. So those of us with little extra weight, blemished skin, wrinkles, or any imperfections start to see only the flaws that make us feel less than. Now, I know we're working to make shifts toward being more body positive, though this has not been universally received well at all. There are still many people out there that believe the unattainable beauty standards need to be upheld. For a lot of us, that causes us to want to hide, to not do what we may be called to do because our insecurities are too big. My fear about recording these talks stemmed from the fear that because I'm not what Hollywood says is beautiful, that no one will want to hear what I have to say. Suddenly, my words become less valuable because I'm not a pretty or rich person saying them. But why, if we are individualized expressions of the divine, how can we be flawed past the point of being lovable? In fact, I think the flaws make us lovable because they make us human. Louise Hay says, remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. I wish it was like a light switch we could turn on and off, but it will take some work to try approving of ourselves for a change. We're worth it, though. In fact, there's no measurement outside of ourselves that we need to reach to be lovable. We don't have to earn love. We are love. I know you're thinking, but I made mistakes. I have this flaw. I did this bad thing. I'm not rich with an amazing job. Please remember what I said a couple weeks ago, though. We're all doing the best we can in every moment. With the new year right around the corner, it's very easy to go back over all our past choices and look at all the things we feel are missing in our lives and blame ourselves for anything that isn't exactly as we wanted. I would invite us to change the energy around this, to shift from blame and shame cycle to accepting responsibility. The difference between blame and shame and responsibility is that blame and shame come with a very accusatory tone, with the aim of being desire to punish or ourselves or others for doing something wrong. Responsibility, on the other hand, is taking ownership of a choice, accepting we did the best we could with what we had and what we knew at the time. This opens the doors for us to begin the process of forgiveness. For many of us who've been through trauma, there comes a time when we start to look at that role we played in that situation. I went over all the things I could have done to deserve the punishment from my ex, but no matter what I did, I didn't deserve it. I made some ill-informed choices because at the time I felt they were my only choice to make. And that means I was doing the best I could with my emotional maturity and understanding of the situation. Often, when we feel we have to look back and realize that we had no choice, those are the times to offer ourselves lively compassion, knowing we were in survival mode at that time. There's no need for self-blame when we are simply trying to stay alive. When we mature and know better, we choose differently. I know this is very simplified, yet if we spend all our time blaming and shaming ourselves for all our choices, we may end up making the same choices again. We rob ourselves of the chance at something better. When we allow ourselves to grow and change our thinking and our choices, we get different results. We can only do this when we are safe and not in immediate danger. So be patient with ourselves if we're in survival mode. The other night, I looked around my recently cleaned kitchen and living room, and tears welled up in my eyes. I had that area remodeled almost 2 years ago, and I have been slowly redecorating it so that it's to my taste. I cried because I have my own home. I have a place that looks and feels like me, that is safe. I have a good job and my own car. I am able to pay my own bills and take care of myself. None of this would have been possible if I had decided to stay in the world of shame and blame. This is also a great step into loving myself. I'm taking care of my needs. I'm independent. I'm allowing myself room to be me and to learn what that means. I'm also giving myself a chance to grow. Norman Vincent Peale said, believe in yourself. Have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. I love this because he's not asking us to have an overabundance of love for ourselves or believe that we're more than we are. In fact, many people who do believe they're better than everyone else do this because they're in fact insecure. This is just asking us to take a step back and look at what we have accomplished. Look at what we're good at and celebrate that. I love the idea of being confidently humble. We don't need to brag to prove to anyone, even ourselves, our worth. We can go about our day doing what we do well, knowing we did our best, and be grateful for that opportunity. We can and should celebrate our wins every day. We should see that where our talents lie and foster and grow them. I think we all want to be successful and happy, yet to get there we need to stop chasing other people's definitions of success and happiness. We need to define them both for ourselves. Set up attainable goals and celebrate when we achieve them. And speaking of goals, we're at the time of year where many of us like to create resolutions for ourselves. Personally, I hate them because I have the habit of setting big, lofty goals for the year. And then I promptly felt overwhelmed by the goal and gave up, which led me right back into the cycle of beating myself up and feeling defeated. A few years ago, my friend suggested a crazy idea of micro resolutions. Start by getting a friend or an accountability buddy because it is important to share your goals with someone to make them real. There are a couple of options in goal setting here. We can start with a big goal and break it down into smaller goals, or we can fly by the seat of our pants and create a new goal each month on the first day of the month. The idea is that each month we have a new goal to strive towards that is easier to consistently do something for a month than a year. A year seems like such a long time to commit to something, but 30 days is almost doable. If tackling a big goal, you might want to start with a big plan at the beginning, chunk it out into 12 sections, and then you have one pre-planned for each month of the year. The best part is when you start to celebrate the new habits without feeling overwhelmed. Also, make sure you and your accountability partner check in with each other throughout the month for progress and to celebrate your success at the end of each month. Didn't hit your goal one month? That's okay. Learn from it, see what didn't work, and try again next month. We're always at choice and are fully allowed to pivot and change directions. During this process, it is important to remember to be kind to ourselves because we're learning something new. You are brave and strong and a fighter. You are the champion of your own life. We can't be kind to others when we are slowly dying from 1,000 paper cuts created by harsh words we sling at ourselves. We can't make the world a more loving, accepting place until we are willing to make our personal world a loving and accepting place. We all deserve better. If today all you can do is to show yourself love, is to take care of basic needs, do it in a loving way. Say, I'm brushing my teeth because I matter. I'm showering because I deserve to be clean. I am eating because I deserve to be healthy. Then tomorrow, do a little bit more. Take a new step each day that shows you how much you mean to you. What would you do for a friend who was down and didn't feel good about themselves? Do that for you. Soon you'll start to hear a voice inside of you saying exactly what you need to do for yourself. It's maybe a forward voice, yet listen very closely, as this is your intuition and your inner guidance. It's your God voice. This is how we learn to love ourselves. We listen to our God voice. Oh, and please remember to play. As one thing I think we forget about self-care is to play and have fun. All of this stuff sounds really work intensive and hard. So remember to play and frolic and sing and dance. Your inner child will thank you. I want to leave you with this one thought by Misha Collins that I think sums up the book series perfectly. Be kind to yourself so that you can be happy enough to be kind to the world. Have a beautiful and glorious new year.
Today is the day I will change my luck. I will find 3 pennies and they'll be heads up. I will walk like a queen in my tennies and jeans, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. Today is the day I'll remember to see only good, only God happening through you and me. I will not forget all the treasures due me, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. And today is the day I'll be more of myself, love my skin, where I've been, and everyone else. No more push, no more pull, simply go as I flow, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. I am loved by this thing called life.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number, and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details. CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with spiritual soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.